Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to the English podcast with Dr. Maqsood Azeemi, which was held on 19 December 2025.
Walaikum assalam. And it's great to be back. Today we're doing a real deep dive into some truly transformative ideas from Dr. Saab.
Absolutely. We've been given source material from a session he led, and it's not just a lecture. It really challenges the core of how we think about our existence, accountability, even how our minds work.
It's revolutionary, really. Our mission today is to unpack 5 central themes that came out of that discussion.
Okay, so let's lay them out for everyone listening. What's the first one?
First, we're going to tackle the whole concept of the final judgment, Hashar, Nashar, and why Dr. Saab says it's not the cosmic courtroom we've been led to believe it is.
Interesting. And second?
Second, the true reward ratios for good deeds. I mean, we're talking about a 10 to 70 ratio. It's a huge return on investment in serving humanity.
Wow, okay. What's the third theme?
Third is the concept of Kidal al-Makrum, this idea that we are literally carrying our heaven and hell with us right now in this life.
And the fourth point?
The fourth is a fascinating one. We'll look at the fate of what Dr. Saab calls bad people in the intermediate realm Alam-e-Araf, and how this leads to the creation of, well, what we call wandering spirits, or Badro.
And finally, the fifth one sounds very detailed.
It is. We're going to spend a good amount of time on the 7-stage process of how we receive cosmic information from the preserved tablet, Lawh-e-Mahfuz, and how we can actually expand our minds.
That is a packed agenda. So let's start at the very beginning with that fundamental question that was raised in the session.
Right.
If we already face the consequences of our actions, both good and bad, right here on Earth, then what's the point of all the questioning and judgment in the next life? What is Hashar really for?
It's the question everyone has, isn't it? And Dr. Saab says the confusion comes from a basic misinterpretation. The term Hashar or Nashar literally means gathering and spreading.
Not judgment and sentencing.
Exactly. He says it's been wrongly framed as this formal, punitive judicial court, and that's not its purpose at all.
So if it's not a court, what is it?
Well, to understand that, Dr. Saab takes us back to the very purpose of creation, which he says is niyabat, or vicegerency.
To be Allah's representative.
Yes. And for this great office, we were given special capacities and an initial residence, jhana. Dr. Saab uses this brilliant analogy. He says it's like being appointed to a high office and immediately getting the huge official bungalow.
But the person appointed Adam was, as he says, masum, innocent and naive. He had the knowledge, the ilm ul azma, but he didn't have any life experience.
He had no concept of burai, of evil or temptation. He had the blueprints, but had never built anything. So that lapse in jhana proved he wasn't quite ready for the job.
I see. So Earth isn't a punishment.
Not at all. Dr. Saab is very clear on this. He calls it mustaqar filard, a compulsory training ground.
Like that deputy commissioner who gets the big house but still has to go to the academy for rigorous training before he can actually do the job.
Precisely. We were sent here to grow, to groom ourselves, and ultimately to bloom. This entire cosmic system is designed for our self-development, to prepare us for that incredible office we were created for.
And the ultimate example of that is the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him.
Right. Dr. Saab says he achieved the title of Rahmatul lil Alamin, mercy for all worlds, because he fully developed himself. He completed the training.
So as his followers, we have a duty to follow that path.
A duty to reach at least a ministerial level, as Dr. Saab puts it. So Hashar isn't a final verdict. It's more like a graduation ceremony, a final review to see if we actually completed our training program.
That reframing is profound. It makes what happens here so much more important. It's not about avoiding punishment later. It's about passing the training modules right now.
It's immediate feedback, which brings us to how that accountability actually works here on Earth. Dr. Saab references an interpretation from his Murshad.
Khawaja Shamsuddin Azeemi is the Murshad of Dr. Saab.
Yes, and his interpretation of Surah Zalzala is just incredible. The verses say, whoever does an atom's weight of good will see it, and whoever does an atom's weight of evil will see it.
And what was his interpretation of "will see it"?
Khawaja Shamsuddin Azeemi is the Murshad of Dr. Saab. Said it means no person can actually leave this world until they have personally seen and experienced the result of every single one of their deeds.
Wow. Every single one. So how does that happen? How do we see the result immediately?
This is the key. The Dr. Saab says it's not about some external event. Seeing the result means feeling the consequence internally.
So if I do something good,
the feeling of peace, that contentment, that deep inner pleasure you get, that is the reward. And it gets recorded instantly.
And the opposite for a bad deed, the anxiety, the guilt, the regret,
yeah,
that's the consequence.
That's it. It's recorded just as fast. The feeling is the record. Dr. Saab calls this internal self-recording system Kitab al-Marqum, the recorded book.
So we are the judge, the jury, and the court reporter, all in one, happening in real time.
You're the one doing the recording. You're the one passing the judgment. Which leads directly to his third point. We carry our own heaven and hell.
Right. So heaven, Illiyyin, is that state of positive feeling.
The happiness, the contentment that comes from your good actions. And hell, Sajjeen, is that state of internal turmoil, the grief, the regret, the emotional suffocation from your bad actions.
So if we live in a state of constant regret over things we've done, we are literally living in our own self-created hell right now.
You are building it and living in it simultaneously. That's why Dr. Saab gave a very practical solution to manage this daily record.
The 15-minute exercise before sleep.
Exactly. Sit down and review your day backward, from the moment you lay down all the way back to when you woke up.
What's the goal? Just to remember.
No, it's active spiritual accounting. You identify what brought you peace and you acknowledge it. But more importantly, you identify every single thing that caused you anxiety or regret. Then you actively resolve it. You figure out a solution. You decide how you could have avoided the mistake. You mentally delete the cause of that regret. You rectify the day's record before it solidifies.
So you don't let that Sajjeen state harden overnight. That is incredibly practical.
It is. Now let's talk about the rewards, because this is another area Dr. Saab corrects. We often hear about rewards for good deeds being 10 to 1 or maybe 20 to 1.
Right.
Dr. Saab says, based on the teachings of his Murshad, Khawaja Shamsuddin Azeemi, that for specific acts of human service, the ratio is much, much higher.
What kind of acts are we talking about?
Things like feeding someone who's hungry, paying for another's medical bills, sponsoring a child's education, or helping arrange a dowry. These acts have an exceptional reward ratio.
And that ratio is?
10 parts of reward in this life, the dunya, to 70 parts in the hereafter, the akhirat.
And that 10 parts in the dunya is that feeling again, isn't it? That deep joy you get from helping.
That's your 10-part reward. And that feeling gets multiplied by 70 later on. But then Dr. Saab makes another distinction.
Okay.
He separates those from what he calls mustaqill deeds, continuous, permanent deeds. These have no 70-fold limit. Their reward is exponential and continues even after you die.
So what's an example of a mustaqill deed?
He gave a few. Building a maman khana, a guest house that provides permanent shelter. Or, and this is even more powerful, aiding in someone's mental or intellectual growth.
So helping someone learn to think better.
Yes. That creates a positive impact that echoes through generations. It's a limitless investment.
Now, let's look at the other side of the coin, the people who choose not to do this. How does Dr. Saab define bad people?
His definition is very specific. He says it's not just about making mistakes. It's about people who actively cultivate a mischievous nature. They find delight in causing misery to others.
And they consistently violate Allah's laws.
Right. They make a conscious choice to follow the crowd or the whispers of Satan instead of the divine path, and that choice determines what happens to them after death.
Which is when the soul enters Alam Araf, the intermediate realm.
Correct. And based on their deeds, a specific place is designated for them. It could be a mansion, it could be a simple cottage, or it could just be a bench in a waiting area.
But this is where the path changes for the truly wicked ones. This is where the Bedro come from.
Exactly. Dr. Saab explains that these highly wicked individuals, the ones who've completely silenced their conscience, are met by angels to be taken to their designated spot.
But they don't go?
They don't. Because their entire life was spent on trickery and deception, they try to trick the angels. They run away, they flee, they disappear before they reach their destination.
So they become lost souls, essentially.
Lost and restless. They have no destination, no food, no comfort, and they remain tethered to the earthly plane. These are the Bedro, the evil spirits.
And their only pleasure is causing fear.
That's what Dr. Saab says. They harass people with weak or anxious minds by moving small objects or making noises just to feed on the fear it creates, which underscores why developing a strong mind is so critical.
Which brings us perfectly to the final and most scientific part of the discussion, the flow of information.
Right. Dr. Saab says our whole purpose, the point of Vicegerent, is to receive the maximum amount of cosmic information, or itlat, and then relay that wisdom out into the cosmos.
But he says we're failing at it. Miserably.
Utterly. He says our minds are so constricted that we reject 999 out of every 1,000 pieces of information the universe sends us. And the one piece we do manage to catch, we immediately warp with our own self-interest.
So to fix that, we need to understand the mechanism.
Yeah.
Where does this information, this itlot, come from?
Dr. Saab explains it originates as a nur, a divine light that spreads out from Law-i Mahfuz, a preserved tablet.
And before he traces its path, he makes a key distinction between the mind and the intellect.
Yes, between Zen, the mind, and Akal, the intellect. He says modern psychology gets this confused. Akal, the intellect, is just the processor. It's the ability to compare and contrast things.
But the Zen, the mind, is the actual receiver.
The mind is the spiritual antenna that catches the incoming light.
Okay, so let's walk through the 7 stages of perception. Dr. Saab calls them the Sabha Samawat, the 7 heavens. This all happens in a flash, so let's slow it down.
Let's do that. So stage 1 is the Nur itself, pure information from Law-i Mahfuz.
Stage 2.
Stage 2 is Wahoma. This is when that light first strikes the mind, creating a sort of pressure, an initial impact.
The mind feels that pressure. So stage 3 is?
Stage 3 is Khayal. The mind pays attention to that pressure and receives the information. The impact becomes an actual idea.
Then what happens to the idea?
Stage 4, Tasawwur. The mind gives the idea meaning and features, forming a concept or an image. And this is critical. It does this by drawing on all your past experiences.
You use the example of tamarind.
A perfect example. If I say tamarind, your tasawwur instantly creates the image and the concept of sourness because you've experienced it. If you had no prior knowledge, the word would be meaningless. No image would form.
Okay, so after the mental image is formed, it moves into the body.
Yes. Stage 5 is isasat. The related senses activate. The thought of sour triggers the sour-related sensory data.
And those sensations trigger a physical change.
Which is stage 6, electrical impulses. This is where the brain chemistry changes. The thought of something sad triggers the glands that produce tears. The thought of tamarind triggers the salivary glands.
And the final step, stage 7.
Motor impulses. That's the other part of the electrical current that activates your muscles and leads to action. Flinching from a scary thought, reaching for food, and this whole sequence is over in less than a millisecond.
That's incredible. So to get better at this, to receive more of that nur, Dr. Saab says we have to enlarge our minds.
We have to expand our canvas, our vista, our vision, and the way to do that is through Tafakkur.
Which means striving to reach reality, thinking deeply, questioning everything.
Yes, and it means breaking the knots of societal conditioning, what he calls the ukuda, the rigid belief system that shrinks the mind's capacity.
If we don't do that, we become victims of the biggest enemy of progress.
Hichkichahat, hesitancy, the fear of failure. And the root of that is something he says is mentioned in the very last verses of the Quran.
Waswasa, the misgivings, the whispers of doubt.
The power of this internal barrier is so immense that Surah Nas tells us we need to invoke 3 of Allah's attributes, Rab, Malik, and Ayla, just to seek refuge from it.
That shows you how potent it is.
It's the ultimate spiritual poison. And Dr. Saab gives a brilliant contrast between someone paralyzed by waswasa and a scientist.
Right. The scientist has the thought, what if this apparatus explodes?
Of course, the thought comes, but the scientist doesn't stop the experiment. They acknowledge the question, analyze the risk, and then they take precautions.
They mitigate the risk and move forward, whereas the person who gives in to waswasa stops completely.
They're paralyzed. And that's why Dr. Saab's conclusion is that the whole game is self-development, and that requires action. We have to overcome this habit of avoiding hard things and just calling it dua.
It's our job to take the conscious action.
His final instruction is so simple, but so powerful. Just do it. But as we've just seen, that doing has to come after you've expanded your mind and learned to manage the whispers of fear. It all comes back to the quality of your mind.
It really does. This entire deep dive, it feels like we've been given a blueprint, a set of practical tools for self-accountability, for understanding how our own consciousness works. You now have the knowledge to actively choose expansion.
And we really want to thank you, the listener, for your time and your love for these deep discussions, these niches. We sincerely hope this has helped provide a clearer path toward your own self-development and accountability.
We really encourage you to share this conversation with anyone you think might benefit from this perspective.
Please do. And remember to subscribe, like, and comment, because that helps this wisdom reach more people who are searching for it. We offer our duas, our prayers for your success, your well-being, and for your journey of relentless growth.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.